It was a cold December night in Delhi. A white bus slowed down near a lonely stop in Minorca. A young couple, tired but smiling after watching a movie, stepped inside, completely unaware that 6 men were waiting for them. The doors slammed shut. The bus began to move, carrying them into an unimaginable nightmare. What happened next would shake an entire nation to its very core. That night, in the heart of India's capital, something broke. But from the ashes of that profound darkness, a name was born: Nirbhaya, the fearless one. This is not just the story of a horrific crime, it's a story of a revolution that followed, a fight for justice that echoed across the globe, and the enduring spirit of a woman who inspired millions. Stay with us as we explore the legacy of Nirbhaya. Join me as we unravel this mystery here on Cold Case Vault.
Her name was Jyoti Singh, which in Hindi means light. Born in a humble Delhi neighborhood in 1990. She was the eldest child in a family that firmly believed education was the key to a better life. Her father worked tirelessly, loading luggage at the airport, all to fund his daughter's studies. Her mother would often say with pride, "Our Jyoti will go farther than we ever dreamed." And she did. She pursued physiotherapy in Dehradun, driven by a passion to help people walk again and to heal their pain. Just before her life was tragically cut short, she had begun an internship at St. Stephen's Hospital, full of hope and ambition. Her friends remember her infectious laughter, her love for Bollywood music, and her fierce belief that a woman should never have to walk in fear. Her light, though extinguished too soon, continues to inspire millions. It was a cool Sunday evening, December 16, 2012. Jyoti and her friend Avnindra just finished watching Life of Pi at a mall in Saket. With the movie over, they hopped in an auto rickshaw, heading to the Minorca bus stop. Their plan was simple: get home by 10 p.m. As they waited, a white private bus slowed down. A young man leaned out, calling their route Dwarka side. It seemed like just another ride home. They stepped on board, but as the doors slammed shut, a sense of unease settled in. 6 other men were already inside, including the driver. The friendly atmosphere quickly vanished. The bus suddenly veered off its intended path, and the familiar city lights faded away behind darkened, tinted windows. The ordinary ride had just turned into a nightmare, marking the beginning of a story that would shake the world. When Avnindra questioned them, they responded with mockery and violence, beating him with an iron rod. Jyoti rushed to his defense, but the men's fury turned on her. For nearly an hour, that moving bus became a chamber of unimaginable horror. She was brutally assaulted and tortured, left clinging to life. Around 11 p.m., the bus slowed and both were thrown onto the roadside. A passerby found them and called for help. At the hospital, doctors were stunned by the sheer brutality. Yet even then, she whispered her will to live. That night, a city slept, unaware that a story of immense courage and a call for justice was about to shake the very conscience of a nation. In the dead of night at Safdarjung Hospital, doctors fought against the clock. Through endless surgeries and blood transfusions, they repeated the same words: "She's critical, but she's fighting." Jyoti Singh couldn't speak, but her eyes held a fire of defiance. Outside the ICU, her parents waited. A small, heartbroken island in a sea of flashing cameras and police uniforms. Helpless, hopeful, terrified, and with them, an entire nation was watching. More than 1 billion hearts were praying, raging, and waiting. As her condition deteriorated, she was flown to one of Asia's best hospitals in Singapore. But after a valiant struggle, on December 29, 2012, Jyoti's fight came to an end. The girl who dreamed of healing the world was gone. The next morning, a wave of grief and anger crashed over Delhi. From India Gate to Raisina Hill, thousands gathered, students, parents, strangers, all united by a single chant for justice. Streets glowed with countless candles like fallen stars mourning a great loss. Authorities tried to disperse the crowds, but the people's spirit was unbreakable. For the first time in a long time, India's youth found a single, powerful voice, a roar that echoed across the country. No more. At the time, her name couldn't be revealed, so the world came to know her as Nirbhaya, the fearless one. In her passing, she became a symbol for every woman who had ever been silenced. The immense public outcry forced the government into action. A special investigation team was formed, and within days, all 6 accused were in custody. The driver Ram Singh, his brother Mukesh, Vinay Sharma, Pawan Gupta, Akshay Thakur, and a 17-year-old juvenile. The evidence was undeniable. DNA, fingerprints, CCTV footage, and eyewitness accounts all pointed to them. A fast-track court was established, and the entire nation hung on every word of the trial. But this time, the questions went deeper than just, "Who did this?" People started asking, "How did we, as a society, let this happen?" This tragedy became a catalyst for change. It sparked a nationwide conversation about empathy, education, and respect. Laws were amended, but more importantly, a collective conscience was awakened. Jyoti's story was no longer about one woman's suffering. It had become the story of a nation confronting its deepest-seated problems. Her legacy reminds us that even in the darkest of times, one person's courage can ignite a revolution of the heart. The courtroom in Delhi fell silent as the verdict was read. All 4 men were found guilty. Rape, murder, destruction of evidence, crimes that had shaken the very soul of India. When the judge pronounced the death sentence, he said, "This case has shocked the collective conscience of the nation." Outside, people clapped and cried. For many, it felt like justice at last. For Jyoti's parents, it was only the beginning of a long, agonizing wait. Appeals, reviews, mercy petitions, each step delayed the inevitable, but they never gave up hope. At every hearing, her mother sat in the front row, holding a photograph of her daughter, a silent symbol of courage and resilience. Originally, there were 6 accused. One of them, Ram Singh, the bus driver, was later found dead in his Tihar jail cell. Officials called it a suicide, but his family insisted it was murder, leaving behind more questions than answers. Another was a juvenile, just 17 at the time. He was tried separately and received the maximum sentence allowed by law, 3 years in a reform home. When he walked free in 2015, outrage erupted across the nation. For Jyoti's parents, it felt like justice had slipped through their hands once again. But this outrage changed India forever. A committee led by former Chief Justice J.S. Verma rewrote the country's laws on sexual violence. Their report didn't just condemn the rapists, it condemned a culture of silence that often blamed women instead of protecting them. Soon after, Parliament passed the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2013, creating tougher sentences, faster trials, and wider definitions of sexual assault. The world would come to know it as the Nirbhaya Law. Still, the pain lingered. Every December 16th, people returned to India Gate with candles and tears. Her parents founded the Nirbhaya Trust, a foundation dedicated to helping survivors of violence rebuild their lives. Her mother famously said, "My daughter died, but she taught the world to live without fear." 7 years later, on March 20th, 2020, at 5:30 a.m., the remaining 4 convicts were hanged at Tihar jail. As the sun rose that morning, Jyoti's father whispered, "The promise to my daughter is finally fulfilled." But her story didn't end there. It reached beyond courtrooms and headlines, becoming part of our screens and our conscience. The BBC documentary, India's Daughter, showed the global outrage, while the Netflix series Delhi Crime portrayed the relentless investigation that led to justice. They remain powerful reminders of a truth too real to forget. More than a decade later, her name, Jyoti Singh, meaning light, still burns bright. She was called Nirbhaya, the fearless one, and her courage became the spark that forced a nation to question itself. Laws were rewritten, streets were renamed, but the true question remains: will hearts ever change? Because real justice begins not with punishment, but when every person learns respect before power, compassion before desire, and humanity before hate. Let Nirbhaya's story remind us that courage can outlive cruelty, and change begins when we refuse to stay silent. If this story moved you, please hit like, share, and comment with your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, where we explore the unforgettable stories that shook the world and changed it forever. This was the story of Nirbhaya, Jyoti Singh, the light that refused to die.